Oh shit. And I just want to be free. 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 What is going on? We have a very serious video here today. And this is how you know I care. In this documentary, I watched 5 minutes of this shit and was like, wait, we gotta watch this. This is no joke. In light of the situation, I think this will shed a lot of light to a lot of people who are completely blind. This is not jargon. This is heavy research. Facts. I did a lot of research on the facts they provided. And I think you can kind of see my face is still swollen from my tooth. So, yeah, I just had 4 wisdom teeth pulled. Shouts out to me, though. Yeah, definitely my face is fat. I feel like Kanye West. Alright, I'm done. So we're here. I just want to make light because this shit is about to get extremely heavy, extremely fast. So what I'm gonna do in honor of me, because you know I just had my teeth pulled, and also I dropped music because I had a little situation where somebody couldn't accept the fact they put out really trash music. So you know they ran my plays up on my shit. So shouts out to them. Shouts out to people who hate my music. And one day they played it over 60 sometimes. Like I don't. Let's go. My bad. Let me turn that down. But this is what I dropped. This is thinking about you.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
We're gonna start off
2,
light and love.
3, 4.
Light and love.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Cause it's about to get real fucking serious.
3.
I'm not playing.
Let's get it.
Thinking about you touches my soul. I'm thinking that I'm losing control.
But I
Want you awfully close, so let me know. Want you to let me take my time with loving you all night and all day. All day, yeah.
The first time that I saw her, she had the face of a model, her body like a Coke bottle. I'm feeling I hit the lotto. She even had the nerve to have a mind as deep and not shallow. I'm thinking we can be a little more than clutching and grabbing on sheets. I'm trying to get the well right. It's the forecast as we peek between the hands as we finish the shit we started when we was too young to understand what we had in front of us. Back then that shit seemed crazy, now we know it's wondrous. Look what's become of us. Keep it classy just like a come-up-on. When it comes to numbers, you a 101. Yeah, and your skin compliment the sun.
yeah. Because
Thinking of you touches my soul.
let's get the chat in here
I'm
too.
thinking that I'm losing control. Cause I want you awfully close, so let me know. Want you to let me take my time with loving you all night and all day.
That's straight.
All day.
My junk is legit swollen. That's crazy. It is what it is though, cause I'm on medicine and I got stuff, so I'm A1. After this, I'll probably put on an ice pack just to try to get some swelling more down. But your boy got his hair did. Ooh, look, my hair is legit growing back for real. Ooh. I'm gonna let this play too, cause I'm gonna smoke.
Say what is on your mind.
Say what it is.
Stop wasting my time. Can you hold me down?
Sorry for shamelessly plugging my shit, so I don't care.
I'm sorry for the way my love's just living the world, just living. Sorry for the way my love's just living the world, just living.
Hey, you
You can look for that tape, I can see it on your face. No excuses on this place, I found a few fits on the way. I'm just healing on my base. I can see they styrofoam, I can tell that they are fake. Wait, that ain't all that skin, I can tell that they are snakes. Wait, throwing a full attack until it's safe. They be stepping out of line, I'm a king who knows his place. That's that capital on that wallet, that's that banking on the chase. Hey, popping on the corn, sugar on the flake, waiting on the slug. How long is it gonna take? I'm just trying to make little mama shake. Down and out that hole in the wall, set it off up at a lake. Bands will make her dance, so she just makes it earthquake. Got me feeling feelings. Ooh, can I call you bait? Feeling for that touch.
I want to play a third one so bad, but we gotta tackle this.
Blunter, so let's make the space safe.
Ah, fuck it. I'm gonna show y'all something. I'm working on. I'm gonna plug y'all in. Real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put y'all on. Talk to him like, cause damn, I'm just too honest, like. Damn, I'm just doing too honest, like. Let's go. Talk to him, Kate. I'm gonna plug this one in, yeah. Hey.
Just a dirty ghetto kid, just dying to live, trying to find a few fucks to give. Zombie land, watching people shape shift. Deception of haters leave you shaking. I properly work on passion and finding my patience. I'm working on my dynasty, not worrying who they think I'm really trying to be. Honestly, I move so iconically. People selling souls for designer jeans. Check the climate, please. Burn me to my knees. Got faith of a mustard seed. I'm bombing life and loud and rough riding. I'm just trying to tell you that my chick is timeless. It's a making of a classic. Let's go. Then we just be vibing. Tell 'em. Let's take it to a place that's safe, where there is no violence. Wait. I'm bombing life and loud and rough riding. I'm just trying to tell you that my
y'all think I should add a verse to this, or should I just leave it as is? I kind of want to leave it as is, but I feel like it's too short.
Where there is no violence. Wait.
Minute and 30 seconds, honestly. Maybe, honestly, I'll let it ride out maybe 140, man, 150, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you gotta let the beat sizzle after you just cooked it like that, you know what I'm saying? But, oh, man. You gotta face ass. Alrighty. Something I'm working on. I haven't even really showed nobody that. So let me see what I'm working on. Let's get this really tough topic really going. This is about to get really serious really fast. Lord of mercy. Deadass is about to get really serious really fast. Let's take it all the way back, because that shit, 10 minutes I was in, I was like, oh, yep. Now we gotta record this. Fair use. The music before I on, so I don't have to fair use that, because, you know, I'm raw like that. There we go.
Had a hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, y'all gonna get it together?
So foundational to medicine is the Hippocratic Oath.
Look at this shitty app. Okay, there we go.
The pro-abortion movement has done everything it can
to
focus the debate away from mothers and babies and on to dubious, abstract rights.
Mm-hmm.
In Roe versus Wade, they pretended that emanations and penumbras of the Constitution, unknown to the people who wrote the Constitution and invisible to the naked eye, had actually secretly enshrined a right to abortion that had, for whatever reason, gone undetected until 1973. It was a lie. No matter how much the pro-abortion movement wished it were so, the Constitution simply does not include any right to abortion. In the 1990s, abortion advocates called for the procedure to be safe, legal, and rare. Today, they call for abortion on demand without apology throughout every stage of pregnancy up until the moment of birth.
Even
Sometimes
past,
even after
afterward.
birth.
Yo.
Approximately 875.
Hold on, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. That is when I knew for a fact that that shit was bullshit. Beyond bullshit. There are going to be facts that I don't know if they'll put this in here, but I'm going to say it early. Bill Gates has ties to Planned Parenthood. And the woman who, I think, what is her name? I keep forgetting her name. Is like Susan something. But that chick, literally her will and testament is the death of Negro babies. It was never women's rights. It was never to save women. It was never to help women. I want that to always be enthused. That is what I always remember. My understanding of what Planned Parenthood was, what it was tied to abortion and shit. And to be very honest, there's other things that are dubiously tied with it that they're going to topic it, but I don't know if they'll touch that. I just want that to be said. Bill Gates, as well as that Susan, whatever that fuck lady's name is, who literally her husband was a KKK leader, not like the leader, but he was like a leader or a high ranking member in the KKK, and she was too as well. So I just want that to be enthused. So yeah, abortion folk. I am not against nor for it. I understand that in certain circumstances that I just want to say this before we even get involved, that understandably women should have the ability to not have to give life for, you know what I'm saying, horrible situations. And if circumstantially and subsequently you make it make sense, that's understandable. I can understand that. Let's talk about the dubious side real quick why I'm not for this shit. Is because now people have weaponized this shit by far to the point that it's like, and I've been a victim to this. I always talk my piece of my story. People are like, well, what do you know about it? I know completely. I actually had a girl that was pregnant. Was at the time like she like really scared. Yeah, but she didn't, you know what I'm saying? She was like, I want to, but I don't know. Her grandparents were very racist and so were her parents. So she didn't want her child nor my child to go through that, and she didn't want to bring a black child in this actual world. So a situation happened where I'm just gonna say it simplistically put, I wasn't actually around to have any say so, and she had an abortion, and it was an awful situation because she kind of used that to like maneuver and weaponize over me, like you caused me to do these things, and no, I didn't. We were having unprotected sex. You knew what it was. And you had stopped taking your birth control. So, or you really missed. So I don't think she like in particular like stopped taking it, but she like missed it and didn't care. So what's the difference between the two? Like, let's be honest here. So I ended up being incarcerated. I'll just simply say incarcerated. And I came out of incarceration and there was no more kid. But what I did to even be incarcerated for was for the kid. So it's situations like that where I would have never even got in trouble and I wouldn't have a record and I'd be able to get a better job and situation for myself if like that wouldn't have even been a thing. Like what if I had had my kid? I would have my kid. I'd be an upstanding father. I'd be probably with a really good job because I had a good job and I chose to make an irrational decision because my girl was pregnant. So with that being said, I have ties to this. Very deep ties. I always feel some sort of way because there is a story of what if I'm a great man and I have great resources and I would like love to have a kid in this world. I would love to take care of my kid. I believe in life. I don't believe in forcing life. And I don't think, and I'm pretty sure they're going to prove that there hasn't been any force of life on anybody's side. So I never told my ex-girlfriend at the time, like, hey, you have to have a kid. I never even made her feel any way. I was like, I'm willing to stand whatever decision you have, but you're pregnant. So I made a decision because you're pregnant. That is literally why. Like, this happened. So yes, I made an irrational, stupid decision. But was it for an actual right cause? Yeah, by far. Listen, it is what it is. But there are women who weaponize and use that as a tool to manipulate and destroy very good men and have them questioning themselves about things that they don't even need to be questioned about. Maybe you're the problem in how you think. It seems that all these pro-abortionists seem like they're willing to do more harm to themselves than to anyone else. For real. Like, I'm just going to keep it a bug. I'm just going to say my piece and then we'll just hear the facts and this Roe v. Wade, because my little simple approach and understanding is that they made some shit up and then enacted a law upon it. And now they've overturned that law. So let's look and see how far we're going to go with that. Let's go.
1,000 babies are killed every year in the United States through abortion.
Wait, how many babies?
That slaughter is allowed to continue.
Let's go back.
Abortion simply does not include any right to abortion. In the 1990s, abortion advocates called for the procedure to be safe, legal, and rare. Today, they call for abortion on demand without apology throughout every stage of pregnancy up until the moment of birth, sometimes even after birth. Approximately 875,000 babies are killed every year in the United States through abortion.
Almost a million.
That slaughter is allowed to continue because of the lie invented in Roe v. Wade that the Constitution included a right to abortion. This legal lie derives from a biological lie, namely, the lie that a baby in the womb is not a person.
That's what these people
believe. A living human being.
I also found that out too. A lot of pro-abortionists and people in general, even the people who created it, they don't believe a baby is a person. I don't get it. I've tried to psychologically wrap my head around how they could even think so asinine and so backwards. Because in all actuality, I'm pretty sure 90% of most humans are here by accident, not by plan. So with that being said, where do you get off now because you feel some sort of way about your situation and maybe your upbringing that you can now push for these laws to be enacted, and now a baby is not a person? So I'm not a person at whatever age I was at when I was born. Thank God my mom was thank God my mom was great. She had 6 kids. 6. My mom had 6. Fucking imagine. She never had an abortion. Never. Now, did our situation end up pretty fucked up? Yes. I ended up getting adopted. My little brother ended up getting adopted. Actually, 3 of her kids got adopted. She kept 1, and her sister, my sister, which is closest to me, ended up going to her actual parents, her pop's situation. So with that being said, it's hello? What if my mom would have just said, fuck it, fuck one of them kids? I wouldn't have one of my beautiful fucking brothers and sisters, just even in my situation. Jesus, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Derives also from a statistical lie, pulled out of thin air by the pro-abortion movement, that in the years before Roe, thousands of women died each year from illegal abortions. Now, almost 50 years after Roe v. Wade, the court has the opportunity to correct the record and come clean about abortion. It looks like the court is poised to do just that, and the pro-abortion movement is showing that it will stop at nothing to maintain the lie. On May 2nd, Politico reported that it had obtained a leaked draft of a majority opinion in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which not only upheld a pro-life law in Mississippi, but went further to overrule Roe and Casey. The leak sent shockwaves throughout Washington. The following day, Chief Justice John Roberts confirmed that the draft was authentic, calling the leak a singular and egregious breach of the trust of the court. 2 days after that, a pro-abortion group calling itself Ruth Sent Us published the home addresses of 6 Supreme Court justices, the 5 who apparently had voted to overrule Roe, as well as John Roberts, who had appeared to have sided with the liberals on overruling Roe and Casey. Around the country, abortion supporters began targeting ordinary defenders of life. Activists stormed churches on Mother's Day, shouting for abortion. Pro-life offices and pregnancy centers in Oregon, Wisconsin, and Maryland were hit with vandalism and arson. In Madison, a pro-abortion group took credit for the attack, saying, "If abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either." It is not yet clear how the Supreme Court will rule in Dobbs. It is not yet clear if the court will stand by the draft opinion and finally overrule Roe and Casey. What is clear is that telling the truth requires extraordinary courage. The people who make...
Wait. The way he said that, I don't think they know that this actually happened. Oh, Kinfolk about to go live. Kinfolk, I will watch you live. Kinfolk. We mixing content, man. I'm mashing when you live, man. I gotta watch that content. I'll come back.
Make up the pro-life movement from the grassroots level to the highest reaches of the government are risking their lives to tell the truth. If the justices on the Supreme Court can face down the mob for the truth, so can we. The Daily Wire is committed to telling the truth about abortion, to exposing the lies, to telling the real stories about what abortion is, from the people who have fought it, to the people who have practiced it, to the people who have survived it. And we can only do that because of you. This content doesn't come easy and it doesn't come cheap. And that is why we are so grateful to all of our Daily Wire members who enable us to fight this fight. It is because of you and others like you over the years that the pro-life movement has been able to push back against entrenched powers, to gain ground little by little, to expose the lies of the abortion movement, and now to find ourselves on the cusp, almost a half-century later, of finally overruling the most egregious court decision in the history of the United States. It's because of your courage, clarity, and commitment that we're able to tell the truth.
Many times when we
dried fruit,
did
pineapples, mangoes.
As we started, patients would begin crying and protesting. But once we had begun dilating the cervix and passing instruments into the uterus, it was too late to stop.
I was handing the hush money to women who we had left pieces of their baby. We had put these women's lives in jeopardy. We had put their lives at risk, and we were literally giving them a check for $800.
What? So they were paying people?
For poor women, $800 is a lot of money.
I mean, there have been so many moments in the last decade plus of going undercover in abortion clinics myself and seeing just heartbreaking things. Women vomiting in the hallway of an abortion clinic, crying out in pain. The late-term abortionists talking casually about how they would literally leave a born-alive baby to die. Or if you deliver the baby in the toilet, then you pick it up and stuff it in a plastic bag and bring it to us.
Babies are being born alive, and the backs of their necks are being slit. They are being drowned. Their necks are being snapped. It's happening more often than people want to think about. These abortion facilities, these abortion providers, these doctors, they don't care about these women.
And you're realizing you're watching in front of your own eyes play out America's greatest horror story, which is how we butcher children in the name of choice.
Y'all ain't got nothing better else to fucking do? Jesus. You know what? I'm gonna go on Kinfolk's name. I'm just not gonna have him playing while I watch this.
One of the most interesting things, and I was just beginning college back in the late 1960s and 70s, the momentum toward legal abortion had begun to run into real trouble.
The justices in Roe v. Wade decided the way they did because they thought they were going to settle the question. They thought they were going to end the abortion debate, just kind of get rid of the controversy by legalizing it at the federal level through the court.
Roe v. Wade was the decision by the Supreme Court in which they invented...
Hold on now. I'm going to be looking at this. Nationwide abortion legal and surprise Supreme Court ruling. Doctors, okay, require 3-month limit set. Hold on now. We looking at shit. Johnson Condos Smith. Henry Cabot Lodge. Lodges. We know about them lodges now. I better be paying attention. San Antonio former president. His death ironically came as a peace settlement. What the fuck is this? So. That's some bullshit. All right.
The right to abortion based on a very strained reading of the Constitution and a false reading of American history. The most important thing, it seems to me, about Roe v. Wade's case is that every single factual representation that Justice Blackmun makes about the sociological realities of abortion, about the safety of abortion, about the history of abortion, none of that information was ever presented at the trial level, which is where, in the law in the United States at least, we sort out the contested disagreements over facts. So Justice Blackmun goes on and on in the opinion about the safety of abortion versus childbirth, about the history of abortion, about the history of the law of abortion, none of which was tested for accuracy or validity in the trial court below. It's all just his own rank speculation based on his research, which, by the way, involved relying on a handful of law review articles written by the former general counsel of NARAL.
Which is still today one of the most pro-abortion lobbying groups in the country. One of the
co-founders of NARAL is a man named Bernard Nathanson, who is a OBGYN who performed tens of thousands of abortions.
This fuckhead is what got me to record this.
In the state of New York, he helped build what would be known eventually as the pro-choice movement.
In his autobiography, The Hand of God, he talks about how he had a difficult task of changing the mind of Americans to accepting the pro-choice argument.
My name is Bernard N. Nathanson. I'm a physician, practicing obstetrician and gynecologist.
He was one of the major kind of pro-abortion activists behind pushing the Supreme Court to legalize abortion in Roe v. Wade. So definitely a very prominent abortion rights activist around the time of Roe.
And I think I've had a passing experience in matters of abortion.
He personally was responsible for over 60,000 abortions, even including his own child.
60?
But the whole story
and he killed his own kid. Okay.
Since the 1970s.
So he believed in killing his own kid.
He had a radical conversion and became pro-life.
And one of the things Bernard Nathanson said in his
wait,
was that organizers of NARAL understood they needed some powerful narratives to try to change people's minds.
He wrote later in life about 4 key lies that were told by the pro-abortion movement.
This is what got me to record.
Normalize abortion in America.
Let's talk about the lie. Abortion in America is still not immoral. It's both. How about that? That's how I feel.
They had a hurdle to overcome. The whole purpose was to change the acceptance of abortion by the American public. First, they claimed that, abortion is a medical procedure. It's not a moral procedure. That's really a false dichotomy because you can ask most medical students today, and they'll tell you the first tenet of medicine is first, do no harm.
So foundational to medicine is the Hippocratic Oath, which dates back to ancient Greece when the physician
these fucking Greece people
established this oath that all physicians take before they practice medicine, that they will not deliberately harm any individual patient.
And that basically gets us to a moral argument. I mean, medicine loses its view of what is morally right. We've lost our way.
The common lie on abortion is that this is like getting your tooth pulled. I mean, this is a medical procedure. The reality is medicine is designed to heal or to save lives. Abortion is the intentional destruction of an innocent human life, a child's life. And it's violent, it's barbaric, it's cruel. It involves often dismemberment of a child with a beating heart, sometimes the lethal injection of a child with a beating heart. It's excruciating. And for the mother, we don't talk about this in our culture. It's not popular to talk about, but it can be devastating. And those are the facts. But when people are being lied to constantly, it's hard for them to see this issue correctly because they've not actually given the truth about what abortion is.
Yeah, I think the pro-abortion movement has turned to this argument that abortion was just always totally normal throughout history and only suddenly became something that pro-lifers were fixated on in the middle of the 20th century. That's simply not true. Actually, the common law tradition has always been anti-abortion, and there was, kind of before the science was clear, there were differing opinions on when human life actually begins. But there was always a fundamental sense, both in Great Britain and then in the United States, where we kind of carried on that legal tradition, that once there is a human life, abortion is wrong.
The clause of the Constitution that Justice Blackmun purported to interpret in his opinion in Roe v. Wade was the phrase, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." Ratified in 1868 at a time when abortion was criminalized virtually everywhere in the United States. The state of Ohio, shortly after ratification, tightened its criminal restrictions on abortion to apply from the moment of conception on the ground, in the words of the drafters of the law, that abortion is child murder. Okay, nobody who voted for the 14th Amendment, nobody who had heard of the 14th Amendment in 1868 believed that it had anything to do with abortion, much less prevented the states from protecting unborn children, which almost every state did in that context.
Even if you were to study feminist history, early feminist history in the late 1800s into the 1900s, you would see that women like Alice Paul, women like Susan B. Anthony, they opposed abortion. They spoke out against abortion. If you look at the civil rights movement, you see Black women like Mildred Jefferson. You see women like Fannie Lou Hamer, who were strong advocates. Fannie Lou Hamer is a well-respected Democrat leader and a civil rights leader. And she spoke out calling legal abortion legal murder. All throughout history, you see that there are women who are on the front lines, who were leaders, who vocally and strongly opposed abortion.
It seems to me that Planned Parenthood and abortion supporters who use this argument about abortion being okay up to quickening are intentionally misconstruing the facts. They're pretending like we always had the science that we had about human life way back into the 1600s, and people back then just thought abortion was moral up until you could feel the baby move. But the fact is, they didn't, and I think Planned Parenthood is well aware that that's the reality.
So, tell me a little bit about Planned Parenthood. What is Planned Parenthood, and how was it involved in the history of abortion?
Planned Parenthood is the most powerful arm of the abortion industrial complex.
The evil head.
The largest producer of abortions in the United States is the Planned Parenthood Federation. When you read their founding documents, they do not talk about medical ethics. They don't talk about protecting the vulnerable. They don't talk about protecting women. They essentially have cast their lot with the idea of population control, and so they thought that the government could sterilize and abort its way out of high welfare costs.
Abortion supporters often argue that abortion is especially necessary for women in difficult situations, whether that's women in abusive relationships or women who are maybe in a low-income situation and need a better job or whatever it might be. They argue that abortion is a solution for these women. First of all, I think that's a very ugly claim. As a society, we don't do this with anything else, right? If we went into kind of a struggling nation where people were starving and we killed a bunch of impoverished people, would we have made the country better off? They have more food to go around, they have more resources. We don't actually solve problems by killing other human beings to make our resources more available.
There's definitely a eugenics factor here.
She just said something, but this pineapple's killing me. This shit busting. Lord have mercy. Sorry, y'all. That's your boy.
Which, that's why and how Planned Parenthood was started to begin with, by Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger, there we go.
The worst thing that could have happened to Black life is Margaret Sanger.
There we go. That's her name, Margaret Sanger. I thought it was Susan.
People like Nazis to say, how do we figure out a perfect race? She wanted to make sure that certain populations of people were controlled.
And she wrote in a letter that she didn't want word to get out that she wanted to exterminate the Negro population. She considered people of color.
What the fuck I told y'all? Huh? Nothing I said was a lie, except I called that bitch Margaret Sanger. I called her Susan. Yeah, I was dead ass wrong about that. And that's fine. But other than that, we ran them facts up. You feel me? Running like checks, you hear me? Fuck is going on? Hey, what's going on? This shit just got deep and serious. We gonna run that back. That just blew my fucking
they argue
mind.
that abortion is a solution for
this shit is real.
First of all, I think that's a very
welcome to the chat.
As a society,
this is in honor of the Roe v. Wade shit.
Right? If we,
I am not for nor against none of that shit. I just feel like people need to learn to.
And we kill.
I just feel like people should know the fucking facts before they go saying that women's rights are being taken, and I feel like they should also like think about all this other shit because not everybody should be forced to have kids. So on some real shit, this documentary is very, very fucking interesting and very amazing, and I'm glad they did this. So welcome.
Impoverished people, would we have made the country better off? They have more food to go around, they have more resources. We don't actually solve problems by killing other human beings to make our resources more available.
There's definitely a eugenics factor here, which
Hegelianism.
That's why and how Planned Parenthood was started to begin with, by Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger, you sick fuck.
The worst thing that could have happened to Black life is Margaret Sanger. She studied under people like Nazis to say, how do we figure out a perfect race? She wanted to make sure that certain populations of people were controlled.
And she wrote in a letter that she didn't want word to get out that she wanted to exterminate the Negro population. She considered people of color and the disabled to be like human weeds that should be pulled out of the ground. The ones that were unclean, the ones that were unfit.
She went after African American leaders and pastors to pay them to market to their people, to kill their offspring.
Sad.
So that there would not be that many blacks in this country.
Unfortunately, those roots of eugenics, it really has borne fruit. African American women, we are 3 times more likely to abort than other races. And we have abortion as the #1 cause of death
for
in
us.
Our community. And it's truly devastating.
Targeting minorities is systemic in the entire industry. We were told that we were to go into minority neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods. We were to put up flyers about the abortion services to essentially lure these minority women into our facilities.
What has happened to African American communities as a result of Margaret Sanger's plan to interject abortion in a very vulnerable, poor community has unraveled our family life. Most people don't appreciate that by the 60s, Black family life was still relatively healthy. 78% of Black husbands were in their homes with their wives raising children. You fast forward after they interjected welfare state policies and abortion, now we're looking at 75% of Black children born outside of marriage. The low educational rates, the high crime rates, the abortion rates, the welfare rates, the AIDS rates, everything ill is hitting this particular population simply because of Margaret Sanger's plan to annihilate this population, their families, and make sure that they did not have success in this country.
Roe had made all of these promises that, if you allow abortion, if you legalize abortion, then, domestic violence is going to decrease, that poverty is going to decrease, that, all of these societal ills are going to essentially go away if you allow women to kill their children. And none of those things have gotten any better. In fact, they've gotten worse. You know, I think about just the 8 years that I was at Planned Parenthood, and during that time, you know, I definitely would have called myself, you know, a feminist and, you know, a champion of women. There is not one time in that 8 years
that you actually help women
where a woman came to me for help, where I sat down across from her and I said,
leave.
You know, I'm going to help you today. At Planned Parenthood, we were to turn every telephone call and every client visit into a revenue generating visit. We didn't provide prenatal care. We don't get kickbacks if a woman chooses adoption. So the only way that we can make money on a pregnant woman is to sell her an abortion. And so you basically get a woman into the facility and you wreck her plan. You're really not strong enough to do that. You're not strong enough to be a single mom. You're not strong enough to meet your education goals.
Psychologically.
You're not strong enough to
wait. So that could have happened to me, and I don't even know because I never got to talk about it. Like it just happened, and I was never there. She just did it. Like told her parents. I don't think she told her parents because she, as I said, her parents was racist. They didn't even like that she was talking to me because I was Jamaican, dude. Like straight up, I'm not even joking. Wait. That's crazy as fuck. Thank you for staying, The Real Slayer. Yo, that's fucking wild, yo. Like, I'm like, yo, like, so they're just in here psychologically damaging these women to have abortions, even pregnant ones. Oh, this is tough. This is fucking tough. Like, I'm cringing, dude. Let's get it over. We gotta get it over with.
Kill your baby.
Because I'm gonna upload this. We gotta get it over with.
That's not strength. That's not giving her resources.
This is so demonic on so many levels. So demonic.
Of what feminism is.
And so I guess the question then becomes, why isn't Planned Parenthood doing that?
Because they're an abortion empire. It's $1.7 billion corporation. And they're selling abortion. They're literally profiting off of the deaths of children and the pain, some of the most painful moments of a woman's life.
Yo, it's getting wild.
I think the concern that pro-choice people have about the safety of those seeking abortion and the possibility that people
the Daily Wire is lit. This is the Daily Wire app.
Is concerning. That is a concern of the pro-life movement, and that should be a concern of all of us. I think it's also important to understand the truth of the situation, as made clear by Dr. Bernard Nathanson in his writings about his work in the early pro-choice movement, that the number of maternal deaths that occurred prior to Roe v. Wade was similar to the number of deaths that occur in legal abortion to this day. To this day, people die procuring legal abortion. That hasn't changed.
Abortion rights activists have been pushing the claim that thousands of women will die every year in unsafe abortions if abortion is illegal.
Bernard Nathanson said they sat around a table and just from whole cloth made up that information, which of course has become a central talking point, namely that if we ban abortion, abortion will be driven underground and women will die.
It's absolutely not
They
true.
have been saying
when
that
women
shit.
have an abortion, there's actually an increased risk of maternal mortality. We know this from countries that have very comprehensively looked at the association between abortion and maternal mortality. For myself, as sitting on the HHS Secretary's Advisory Committee for Infant and Maternal Mortality, the maternal mortality statistics in the United States are flawed, especially when you want to ask how they're associated with abortion, because states are not mandated or required to report abortions. So there's going to be a whole state like California that we have no idea how many abortions they even do, and we definitely don't know how many are associated with maternal mortality. And so we have to look at other countries that have very comprehensively looked at the association between abortion and maternal mortality.
California's a very demonic and evil place.
There is a 3 times higher risk.
I just want to put that out. The Church of Satan, or like the House of Satan, the Church of Satan, was started in San Francisco.
I think it's very problematic that big abortion continues to tout numbers that are inaccurate as it relates to maternal mortality rates prior to Roe and the reasons associated with that. We have seen top-level Planned Parenthood executives make the false claim, that thousands of women died trying to procure illegal abortions prior to Roe v. Wade.
The pro-abortion movement has been lying. It is not just surprising, it's heartbreaking for people. But to give them that opportunity to learn so that they can change, that's what we have to do. Because again, they're being given every single day through social media, traditional media, school system, whatever, they're being given lies about abortion. Abortion has been seen as a sacrosanct right. And so anything you do to regulate it, anything you do to keep murderous abortionists accountable or ones that are not following even basic healthcare guidelines, no, that's taboo. And that's why Kermit Gosnell in Philadelphia was allowed to operate for decades before he was finally raided by the FBI, and they found that he had been killing born-alive infants. He actually killed women. He was doing all kinds of medical malpractice. And there were reports on this. There were tips on this being regularly given to police, to the health department, and it was never acted on. They looked the other way. Why? Because he was an abortionist. And if you're an abortionist, you are regulated less in most states than a nail salon.
Man.
I think so often if we haven't been affected by something, it's something that we don't think about. But what I've realized as I learned that I survived an abortion is that there is a face and a
Those
name
were
and
babies in the bag, TJ. TJ, that was babies in the bag.
Opportunity to meet my birth mother. I got to thank her and see who I looked like. And in the midst of that, I gave her a gift, and she opened a card that I gave her with a gift, and it said, "Thank you for choosing life for me." And I'll never forget that moment as my birth mother broke down into tears and said, "I didn't. Claire, I was 13 when I was pregnant with you. I was alone. My mother told me that the best thing for me was to have an abortion, and so I did. I had a D&E dismemberment abortion, and a few weeks later I went back to the doctor, and the doctor said that I had been pregnant with twins, and that one had been aborted, but that you had survived my abortion." And gosh, I never imagined that I would sit face to face with my birth mother and find out that not only had I been the type of person that was affected by abortion, but I was a twinless twin in the name of choice, that her abortion made sense of me being born at 3 pounds with a dislocated hip and club feet. And a lifetime of complications, including visiting the Children's Crippled Hospital as a child. And so I realized in that moment that everything I believed about abortion was wrong.
The problem is that so many women are harmed by abortion, but the shame keeps them from coming forward and saying,
"This is real.
Something bad happened."
So TJ, this is what got overturned. This is what got overturned today.
Part of my baby was left inside of me.
This is what this is about.
I was left laying on an abortion clinic table for 5 hours while they were trying to pack my uterus full of gauze because I was almost bleeding to death on a table. And they refused to call the ambulance.
I think that the pro-death community
so happy.
Has
they are going ham
for their own purposes.
on the
I
Daily
think that
Wire.
They use anyone for their own purposes.
When I was first deep diving of the abortion industry, researching it, I came across a book called
Should I drop this on YouTube?
by Mark Crutcher.
TJ?
And this book was basically a compendium of all
I'm
going to
clip this to death and put this
at abortion clinics,
on my Instagram. I don't want nobody to say nothing to me no more about any of this.
Abortionist just committing
this broke my heart.
Horrible illegal activity,
for real. This broke my heart.
That he had painstakingly documented over a period of 2 decades. And that was when I started to think, can we document this happening in Los Angeles? Because I was a college student in LA. Can we document this at the abortion clinics here? Is it happening here? And that inspired our first investigative report. I wanted to test Mark's theory that he had, that abortion is, sexual abuse is covered up in abortion clinics across the country. So I went into 2 abortion clinics in Los Angeles, 2 Planned Parenthoods, posing as an underage girl with a much older boyfriend. Said, okay, I'm 15 years old. He's much older. He's 23. This is a clear case of statutory rape in California. What do I do? And the first Planned Parenthood clinic I walked into, one in Santa Monica, told me that I should change my age on the paperwork so that it would not trigger reporting and I could get a secret abortion. And then the second abortion clinic I went into in Los Angeles, same thing. They said that they were not going to report anything. And she sat there persuading me to have an abortion.
If we keep this conversation, I'm going to have to talk to my manager. And yeah, he's going to get in trouble. But in order to get I'm not going to tell anybody.
Well, yeah, he's over such and such, and you can do statutory rape and whatever, but it's going to be in the papers. So most people will threaten stuff and don't go through with it. Okay. I don't care how old he is.
It's
you sick
how
bitch.
They essentially keep the doors open.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oh man, I gotta change my words. Oh my god.
Great benefactor to the masses.
This is what's in abortion clinics. This is what my girl went. My ex, not my girl. She was never my girl. She was never my girl. Even when I had her.
Make
never
money.
my girl.
The supposedly pro-women organization, Planned Parenthood, is actually covering up the sexual abuse of little girls.
Rape.
And these girls are being taken by their abusers or sent by their abusers for secret abortions and then sent back to their abusers. And the one person who's supposed to intervene
is
a health professional and make a report and trigger the steps for rescuing that girl and helping her, intervening, is not only not doing their job, they're actively participating in the abuse. You know, I remember a telling phone call with
this
a
is
detective
deep.
from the LA Police
This is
Department
deeper
working
than
on
rap.
child sexual abuse cases.
This is deep.
And he said in all his
How far are we in
years,
this?
his
Holy
decades
shit,
working
there's
in
like
LAPD, he'd
20
never
more minutes
gotten a phone
almost.
call from an abortion clinic. No abortion clinic had ever reported suspected abuse when they're the ones dealing with pregnant girls, young girls who are involved in sexual activity, and instead of flagging, oh, is there an older guy involved? What's your situation? Is there abuse going on? They just sell an abortion and send her on her way.
And this kind of goes back to one of the major lies that Nathanson and his pro-abortion colleagues told, which was that legal abortion is good for women. Abortion is a solution to women's problems. Women will be safer, their health will be better if they can access abortion. This is simply not true. There are serious risks of abortion to women, and even in cases where there aren't kind of health side effects, psychological side effects, long-term consequences, women are actually not better off if their best solution is to kill their child, right? It pits women against their own children. It turns that most vulnerable human relationship into an antagonistic relationship between enemies, and women are not better off as a result of that.
Especially if it's coming from you.
The real heart of the issue is
this is
question.
crazy.
What is the life in the womb? Is it a human being? Is it human?
Even a survey that was done of over 5,000 biologists, when they asked, when does human life begin? Over 95% of them said that human life begins at the moment of conception. And when you look at actually who are these individuals, well, the majority of them are actually liberal, Democrat, non-religious, and pro-choice. So even they know that from the moment of conception, that is a human being, a living human being.
When I'm weighing the hard edges of this debate, I recognize that a hard edge of our side is that we need to be concerned about the repercussions for women in a scenario where they're not able to procure a legal abortion. But I also recognize that the hard edge of the other side is mass genocide. We're talking about more than 60 million babies killed by abortion. And we know that many of them, thousands and probably millions, we're past the age of viability, and that some
Dang.
have been born alive and become victims of infanticide. That is the hard edge of the pro-choice side.
Early in my career, I was an abortionist. I performed over 700 abortions. That went on for about a year and a half, and it all came to a halt on a Saturday morning. I remember it so well. I was doing abortions. We would do 20, 25 abortions on a Saturday morning. And the last patient of that day was a little 16-year-old. And usually when we do an abortion, and we were only doing them up to about 13 weeks at that time, there's only a tablespoon, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of amniotic fluid that come out when we do the procedure. This was different. There was probably a quart, maybe a quart and a half of amniotic fluid that came out as I was doing it. And then there was a lot of blood. And then it happened, the event that changed everything. The baby kicked me. Now you might think,
what?
Here I was doing abortions for a year and a half, and I would see the products that I was pulling out of the uterus, the broken limbs, the torsos, the head, all the pieces of those babies. And that didn't really move me. It didn't change my mind. And it was only then when I examined the abdomen and realized that this pregnancy was much further along than I had anticipated.
You just killed the baby. You just killed somebody. You literally just killed somebody.
It really hit home, I think, with the fact that I was taking a life.
Yeah, you just killed somebody.
She had to be taken to the hospital and removed. The baby was removed in pieces, and a gruesome procedure. That was the last abortion that I ever did.
They use language such as just throw it away, flush it down the toilet. I mean, there is complete disregard and disrespect for the unborn child, and they go out of their way to misinform and sideline.
Yo, America is just so lost,
that this
and so is Europe.
Real human being that is, if you go through with this, you will be killing an innocent life.
Because in Planned Parenthood's ideology, an abortion is always best. It doesn't matter your situation. If you're poor, if you're raped, if you're abused, abortion is your ticket, and that's our job. We wash our hands of caring for you afterwards. And that's what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. The case of brave pro-life activists who intercepted bodies of 115 children outside Cesare Santangela's abortion clinic. And is anyone investigating? Have DC police, when the bodies of these infants were found outside his abortion clinic, including the bodies of 5 babies who looked to be, some of them nearly full term, 5 babies who were between 20 to 40 weeks old, 1 little girl whose neck was cut and her brain removed, another baby born in Cal in the amniotic fluid sac, 2 babies that were viciously dismembered, babies maybe 28, 30 weeks old, and then another little baby boy who looked to be full term according to some medical.
Some of that sounds ritualistic. So they were getting their rituals off. Literally.
Experts. No signs of apparent trauma on his body. How did he die? How did he die? Was he delivered alive, like Cesare Santangelo has admitted he would do, and then drowned?
Kill them.
Or just left to die? These are the questions that law enforcement should be investigating, and yet they are not.
Who would have guessed 50 years ago when people were promising the courts resolve this question? Or people now saying, oh, settled law. But actually, the political alignment of the entire country is not built around war and peace. It's not built around the size of the welfare state or tax policy. Everybody has opinions. But on life, it's like the Red Sea. I think that tells us something. We need a better answer than the one we've got now.
People often say to me, well, Claire, don't you think women should have the right to choose what they do with their own body? And I always say, yeah, absolutely, I do. But the problem here is that I wasn't my birth mother's body. There was a separate human being inside of my birth mother's body, and that was me. And so women, yes, absolutely, they should have the right to do what they want with their body, but not when it's at the expense or the death of a child like me, like my twin.
Yeah, man, this is wild. This was worth it.
The most prominent
I paid $14 for this
of
app.
abortion will say
they went crazy this month.
Women don't have a right to abortion, that they will be second-class citizens at best. They will not be able to express themselves sexually as men do, and at the same time participate in the equal economic and civic life of the nation. That is simply false, demonstrably false. But it is the most important normative argument that abortion rights supporters have. And by the way, if Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey are overturned, it will not result in the criminalization of abortion in America. It will return to the political branches the freedom that, by the way, is enjoyed by nations around the world, including countries that are much more progressive than we are. Countries, by the way, who have much more restrictive laws on abortion than we do. Countries like France and Germany and the Netherlands. I mean, pick a country, and they have restrictions on abortion that we don't have in our law by operation of Roe and Casey. All overturning Roe and Casey will do will kick the matter back to the political branches, where we can finally reason together in the political sphere about how best to protect women and children and families.
You hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? So pretty much the ability to self-govern in the situation, because federally it shouldn't be just how it is.
And so the claim that women will be subjugated like the Handmaid's Tale if the court overturns Roe and Casey simply is false.
People are starting to recognize that something has gone terribly wrong. All the data is showing that people know that our civil society is unraveling, so they're looking for why.
And I think that's true of all of us. We understand good and evil. And I would say that if the average person could see abortion through my eyes just one time,
You'll never do that shit again.
that the polls would indicate a high percentage of the American public would oppose abortion.
And so there's so much work to be done. Even if Roe versus Wade is overturned, even if every single state was to ban abortion, there would still be women who are torn, who are afraid to parent, who need resources, who need help, who need support, who need adoption. And we would, as the movement, need to wrap our arms around them and help them.
I hope that someday we will look back on abortion as a horrific thing and wonder how we ever let this happen. But I think even if we do reach that time when all of us are willing to recognize that this was deeply unjust and that it should never have happened, we'll have to remember the history of it. We can't forget why this happened, and we shouldn't let it happen again. It's a horrible atrocity against vulnerable members of our community, and who knows who could be next.
63 million sacrificed. Ultra of choice. This was a outstanding documentary. Dang. We're gonna go ahead and cut it there because yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was amazing. Just gonna sit in the lobby and just talk about that. That was I'm honestly at a loss for words, for real. I really don't know what to say about that. I have no clue what to say. I don't want anyone to talk to me about abortion or none of that shit ever again. Like, I'm not even joking or being funny. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, at the end of the day, like, they presented nothing but facts and then their opinions and feelings about it. But a lot of those people were first-hand enthusiasts of that stuff. So it's like, who you gonna tell them? Like that, the actual surgeon? You gonna tell him about, you know what I mean, anything? You feel me? You gonna tell the girl who survived her abortion? What you gonna tell her? That she should have died? Is that what the fuck y'all are gonna tell her? Like, that's what I would really like to hear and see from these people. Like, that was mind-blowing. Period. That was crazy. I'm gonna clip this to death. I got some work to do. And as you can see, TJ, my whole face is kind of swole. I am about to get off. I'm not playing no games today. I am on to it. Shouts out to you for watching with me. I know this was tough. I know this was tough, but this is what we have to do this for. We have to do this, bro. This is the real truth needs to get out. Real facts the other side needs to get talked about. It's not about policing people. It's about treating people with respect, honor, and love, and giving a fuck, finally. It's really what it's about. It's a God-given right. Life. Hello?